Alright, iPhone 17 time. Apple recently announced the iPhone 17, the iPhone 17 Pro and Pro Max, and also the iPhone Air. So here are my thoughts. This is not really a summary of like everything that got announced, but rather more just like my thoughts and opinions on the new products and also which one I think you should get. So if you're in a rush, get the base model iPhone 17. That phone finally got 120Hz. It finally has no more like big compromises that the average person would care about. So if you're looking for just a regular phone for everyday use, get the iPhone 17. If you want the best cameras that iPhones have to offer, then the Pro models are definitely there for you. And if you want like the biggest iPhone screen that Apple has to offer, then the Pro Max is the only option you have because the Plus model iPhone is no longer available. Replacing it is the iPhone Air, which I think is kind of just like a phone for funsies, like if you want to have like cutting edge tech or like I guess bragging rights because it's such a nice and thin phone. That's the phone that's the most stylish, the most like beautiful and most aesthetically pleasing in my opinion. So if you want something fun and a little different and you have the money to spare, then get the iPhone 17 Air. But now let's start talking about the iPhones themselves. So first off, across the board, so every new iPhone has 256 gigs of starting storage compared to 128 from last year, which is a pretty nice upgrade. So the iPhone 17 starts at 256 gigs and it is at the same price that the 128 gig iPhone 16 was at last year. So you're basically getting a free storage upgrade. And the 17 Pro, while it does start at $1099 and it looks more expensive, it's actually not more expensive. They just got rid of the cheaper 128 gig option and it now starts at 256 gigs. So it's not less expensive, but it's not more expensive either. Across the board, every new iPhone comes with the 18 megapixel front-facing camera with center stage, and that's basically like a square sensor. So basically it lets you take selfies in portrait and landscape while being able to fit in everyone into your picture. Because like normally when you're taking selfies, you have to kind of like hold your phone at like a goofy angle, right? If you want to get like a wide shot, but not anymore because it's a square sensor. It takes square photos, and what it does, it just like crops in those photos based on how you're holding your phone or how you want to like have the photo, you know? So that's a really nice welcome upgrade to the selfie camera, which lots of people use more than the regular camera, honestly. But yeah, let's start talking about the phones themselves. So the iPhone 17 base model, super compelling this year. Honestly, when I first saw it, I was like, this is just an iPhone 16s. Like this looks like the same thing, but it actually has a lot of under the hood improvements. So probably the biggest upgrade is the 120Hz ProMotion refresh rate. Finally, after starving us for years of ProMotion on the base model iPhone, Apple's finally put that on the base model iPhone. Because like even in 2024, the iPhone 16 still had a 60Hz display, and everything else in that price range had 120Hz, and it just made the iPhone 16, while it had really good performance, it didn't feel as smooth because the screen wasn't able to refresh at that smooth 120Hz refresh rate. And I feel like a lot of people got the iPhone Pro models just for that smooth 120Hz refresh rate. But now they don't have to. Now the iPhone 17 base model comes with the 120Hz refresh rate. And previously, the 60Hz refresh rate was kind of holding the iPhone base model back, but now it's not there anymore. The iPhone 17 has 120Hz. So that's a really big reason for a lot of people to go from the Pro model to the regular model, because now it's on par with like any modern smartphone of 2025, and it comes at no extra cost compared to the iPhone 16. So that's really awesome. And yeah, you're just getting a bunch of other like small quality of life improvements with the 17, like the thinner bezels, you're getting a slightly bigger screen at 6.3 inches, the cameras are improved, the ultra wide is now 48 megapixels, and of course you're also getting that faster chip. Oh, on the screen there's also an anti-reflective coating. This is true for all the other iPhone 17 models as well. And that anti-reflection coating basically makes it a lot harder for like glare to be on your screen, and it makes your screen easier to read. And also the screen is brighter, which is really nice. Also, in terms of durability, there's the new Ceramic Shield 2 on the front of the display, so it'll be hopefully more resistant to scratches and cracks. But yeah, the base model iPhone 17 is really awesome, and I would recommend that phone to most people. And even like the cameras are really good for the average person. Like the average person doing some vlogging, doing some like photos of their family, using the ultra wide, they're gonna have no problem with the iPhone 17's camera. And you're just getting a really excellent screen, really excellent build quality, and you're getting the smooth performance of the A19 chip. So honestly, the iPhone 17 is gonna sell like hotcakes probably. It's a really good value for what you're paying. Like if we compare this to the iPhone 16, which is currently going for $100 cheaper USD than the iPhone 17 on the Apple website, The iPhone 17 has a slightly bigger display with thinner bezel, ceramic shield 2, it's got that anti-reflective coating, it's got a brighter screen, it's got the 120Hz refresh rate, and that's just a screen. It's also got the 48 megapixel camera, the much improved selfie camera with center stage, also the better performance of the A19 chip. Like even the 120Hz by itself, I think is worth the $100 extra bonus from the 16 to the 17, because it just makes your phone experience that much nicer and that much smoother. Like yeah, there's nothing wrong with 60 Hz, but a smoother display is something we can all appreciate, whether you're obsessed with tech and specs or not. And then the iPhone Air. I think this is a fun little product. It's nice to see Apple kind of taking a risk with this product. They're probably testing out how thin they can make these devices before putting them in the fold device that they're gonna make in 2 to 3 years time, maybe even earlier. The Air kind of like sits between the base model iPhone 17 and the Pro models. It kind of replaces the plus size option that we had with the iPhone 16 and 15 and 14. And it's just a fun little like side thing, I guess. If you want something that's nice and stylish and it looks really modern, then 17 Air is the way to go. I am quite worried about the battery life though, because it is really thin. And during the presentation, they had to advertise the battery stat with the power bank that like snaps onto the back of the phone. They didn't even give a proper number for just the phone by itself. But then when I went on the Apple website, I saw that the phone was quoted for up to 27 hours of video playback, which is what the iPhone 16 Pro is rated for. So honestly, that's not that bad considering how thin the phone is. And it's honestly just super impressive that they were able to cram most of like the phone components into the like little plateau bump thingy at the back. And they did as much as they could to like make the battery as big as possible, which is really nice. But again, I feel like it's not going to be that practical for the everyday person because again, it only has one camera. And while Apple says it's like a fusion camera, at the end of the day, it's still just one camera. Apple would like you to believe that it's just as good as having a bunch of different cameras, but at the end of the day, you're not getting ultra wide, you're not getting telephoto, you're just getting the one camera. Is it good enough for most people? Probably, yeah. But if you go down $200, you can get the iPhone 17, which has a better camera. Now the Air is more leaning towards the Pro territory of things with the 12 gigs of RAM and the A19 Pro chip compared to the base model iPhone 17. But at the end of the day, the average person is not going to like be able to tell the difference between the two chips. Maybe in like 6 or 7 years time, the difference between the iPhone 17 and the iPhone 17 Air's performance will be more noticeable with that like 8 gigs of RAM versus 12 gigs of RAM. But as of right now, the average person is not going to be able to feel a performance difference between the regular iPhone 17 and the iPhone 17 Air. So overall verdict on the iPhone 17 Air, it's a really cool piece of tech, but I don't see the average person wanting to get the thin phone for anything other than like the spectacle of it being thin. And I guess that's kind of the whole point it was created. It's a spectacle and it's an engineering marvel of just how thin they can get these devices. And of course, it's probably a test for the iPhone Fold. Lastly, iPhone 17 Pro and Pro Max. This is the iPhone 17 Pro Max in a secret black color. No, I'm kidding. This is just a dummy model. But people are a bit mad that the iPhone 17 Pro doesn't come in black. And it's definitely a very interesting choice on Apple. But yeah, iPhone 17 Pro and Pro Max are out. They come in cosmic orange, deep blue, and silver. I'm a pretty big fan of the silver. I'll probably pick that up when I pre-order tomorrow. It's September 11th right now. But yeah, people were pretty upset that there is no black color option for the Pro model, which I think is pretty much a first. I guess that like deep blue does kind of look like black in like certain lighting, but yeah, it is unfortunate that they don't have a black color for the Pro model iPhones. But yeah, I think this is the first step of Apple trying to make the Pro iPhone kind of like their Apple Watch equivalent in the iPhone lineup. Because now a lot of the people who bought the Pro models for like the 120Hz and like the better cameras, the iPhone 17 base model has gotten good enough to the point where it can satisfy the majority of those people. And now it seems like they're kind of shifting their focus towards people who use the iPhone in like industries like filmmaking or like in more like rugged environments. And you can kind of see this in how they're switching to the aluminum unibody and like the inclusion of that vapor chamber as well. The aluminum unibody is really interesting because literally just 2 years ago, they were parading around titanium everywhere. But the thing is, titanium wasn't very good at transferring heat. So I guess they're switching back to aluminum. It's also cheaper for them, so yippee. And I guess now they're just gonna pretend titanium never existed. But yeah, the aluminum unibody is kind of nice. I know they said that this is the first aluminum unibody on an iPhone, but like technically, didn't like the old like iPhones have that? Like the iPhone 7, like this is an aluminum unibody, I think. Also, I forgot how beautiful the iPhone 7 was. Like how do we go from this to this. But yeah, the design for the iPhone 17 Pro and Pro Max, I can't lie, it looks a bit chopped, but I feel like we're all gonna get used to it at some point. When the iPhone like 11 first came out with like this whole like tri-camera thing, people were memeing it so hard. They were calling it like a stovetop and whatnot, and everyone thought it was like really ugly. Fast forward to today, iPhone 16 Pro, and people are saying, oh, the iPhone 17 Pro looks so chopped, the iPhone 16 Pro looks so good. So yes, while I do think the iPhone 17 Pro looks really chopped, I feel like people are gonna get used to it eventually. And I do think there is a bit of a charm to the design. It looks very industrial and robust. But yeah, the aluminum unibody does look better for like preventing the glass shattering, right? Because this like camera square area now is gonna be like aluminum, right? You can't shatter aluminum. But I am worried about scratches and dents because that camera plateau thing is really big. And if you drop this on like say gravel or something, and like that aluminum touches the gravel, that's gonna get scratched, it's gonna get chipped up, and it's gonna get dented. Because aluminum is a softer metal than titanium. Honestly, this titanium has held up really well. To be fair, I've kept it in a case the whole time, but like this phone is literally in mint condition. And hopefully it stays that way until I get my 17 Pro. And the 17 Pro also comes with a vapor chamber for cooling, so this plus the aluminum should make it even better in terms of heat management. So if you're doing super intensive tasks like gaming on the phone, then it should handle heat better. So that's really good to know. Or like if you're using your iPhone camera, like I know when I use my iPhone camera a lot, it gets really, really warm because, well, it's a lot of computation it's gotta do. So hopefully the vapor chamber brings some noticeable upgrades. And yeah, the phone has like battery upgrades across the board. Also, the cameras on the 17 Pro are improved. So it's a 48 megapixel sensor now, and it can go up to 8 times optical quality zoom. So you'd think that'd be an upgrade, right? Because the iPhone 16 Pro has a 5 times optical quality zoom. But I did some digging on Apple's website, and it turns out the iPhone 17 Pro actually has a 4 times optical zoom. But because it's a 48 megapixel sensor, it's able to crop in to an 8x zoom and still be a 12 megapixel image. So is it technically a digital zoom? Yes. Is the sensor's actual optical zoom capability lowered? Yes, because now we're having a 4x optical sensor with the 5x optical sensor that was on the iPhone 16 Pro. But because there's 48 megapixels on the telephoto on the iPhone 17 Pro now, it can crop up to 8 times without losing image quality. So technically, yes, it's optical quality, but at the end of the day, it's still just digitally zooming. It's not actually optical, like the lens aren't actually zooming into 8 times. So yeah, those are all 3 of the iPhones. Should you upgrade? Honestly, if your phone's working fine, there's no reason to upgrade. Don't upgrade things that are still working. And I have an iPhone 16 Pro, and under normal circumstances, I wouldn't upgrade, right? I would keep this phone for 4 to 5 years, but in my case, I will be upgrading to the iPhone 17 Pro just because I do run a tech YouTube channel. I use this phone as my camera, and also I make videos about the actual phone itself. So I will be getting the 17 Pro, but under normal circumstances, if I didn't have this YouTube channel, I would keep the 16 Pro for like at least 4 to 5 years. And if you're coming from like an iPhone 15 Pro or even like an iPhone 14 Pro, you're not gonna notice a huge difference coming to the iPhone 17 Pro. But overall, I think this is a good year to upgrade if you're coming from like an iPhone 14 or earlier, right? You'd be getting the USB-C, you'd be getting the camera upgrades, you'd be getting the dynamic island, unless you're coming from the 14 Pro, which already had the dynamic island, but you'd be getting some decent, solid upgrades. But again, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If your phone's still working fine, then there's no reason to buy into all the hype and get the new one. That being said, again, I will be upgrading to the 17 Pro because of, well, this YouTube channel. And I'll be making day in the life battery test videos, testing out the battery performance, because as you know, this iPhone doesn't have the greatest battery life, so we'll be testing out if the 17 Pro equivalent can do better. Well, I guess that's pretty much it for this video. Thank you for checking out my thoughts on the iPhone 17 lineup and the iPhone Air. I will be getting the iPhone 17 Pro and making a bunch of videos on it, comparing it to the iPhone 16 Pro, doing battery tests, doing reviews, day in the life use cases. So be sure to stay subscribed for that. Let me know in the comments what phone you're using right now, if you're gonna upgrade to the iPhone 17, and if so, which model you're considering. Anyways, that's pretty much it for this video. Be awesome and stay techie. Bye! It looks a little off, it looks a little chopped,